In Parshat Noach, we have perhaps the first lockdown in human history. Noach and his family are told to build a teva, an ark, and to go and to live there together with all of the animals for a full year in lockdown, while outside there is a raging storm going on. The world is being destroyed. Not dissimilar to what we've been through, where there's a raging pandemic going on and we've been locked into our houses. And during that year, it must have been incredibly difficult for Noah and his family. Indeed, our sages tell us that he got no rest. He was feeding the animals and looking after them all of the time. At the end of the year, when he exited the ark and all of the animals left, the Torah tells us that Noach planted a vineyard. The grapes grew and he made wine and he became drunk and he debased himself and disgraced himself in his tent. And this, of course, was the incorrect behavior, the incorrect reaction. Rashi points out from our sages that he shouldn't have planted a vineyard. He should have planted wheat, something sustainable, not something to drown his sorrows. Let's contrast Noach with Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, one of the greatest sages of the Mishnah, had a very difficult life. When he was a young man, the temple was destroyed. He started off his Torah learning already. He was much older. He was an ignoramus when he grew up. And yet he became the greatest sage. And he had a massive following of students, 24,000 students, that the Talmud tells us all died in one period between Pesach and Shavuot in a pandemic. Or according to some opinions, they were killed by the Romans in the uprisings of Hadrian. And we could imagine that Rabbi Akiva would have been a broken man. We would have perhaps excused him if he had sat down and had a drink and drowned his sorrows. But the Talmud says that that's not what Rabbi Akiva did. Rabbi Akiva went down south and he found 5 new students, including Rabbi Meir and the great Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And he began to teach them Torah. And from those 5 students, the world of Judaism, of Torah, was rebuilt. He didn't drown his sorrows, but he went on to building. And I'm always reminded of the story of the great Rosh Yeshiva of Telz, who came from Europe to re-establish the yeshiva. They knew that there was trouble going on in Lithuania. And so 2 brothers-in-law, Rav Elia Meir Bloch and Rav Motel Katz, went on a long journey to America. And this was really at the height of World War II. They were able to re-establish the yeshiva. During the course of the Holocaust, they both lost their wives and most of their children. And one could understand that they should be broken men. And yet they went on with a firm resolve. And they rebuilt. Because that is what we should do as Jews. After tragedy, after pandemics, after destruction, we don't drown our sorrows. We get up and we rebuild. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.